You must pay for everything in this world one way and another. There is nothing free except the grace of God.
Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Jennifer. So happy to have you here today for another faceless video. I do apologize. I still am not feeling the greatest, but I wanted to thank you guys for so many wonderful comments, hoping that I feel better. I didn't really go into it yesterday. I don't really want to go into too much today to waste too much of your time, but long story short, I've just been having a lot of respiratory breathing problems since I arrived here in Germany. I know I've talked about that in other videos. So hopefully I will be getting a chest x-ray very soon here. Things tend to move a little slower here in Germany. They have put in the paperwork to get me a chest x-ray. I do have some lab work coming up on Friday. So I'm just trying to take it easy and rest and not put too much pressure on myself to film, my full deal that I do. But we've got a family trip coming up at the end of the week that we've been planning for a while. And hopefully we'll be able to do that. I'm just trying to get as much rest as I can. But anyway, thank you so much for your concern, you guys. And I will definitely keep you updated. But there's been a lot going on, so I just want to get into it. So I don't know if you caught my video yesterday when I was talking about all of my reservations and all of my feelings regarding this Nancy Guthrie kidnapping story. And I guess my reservations about not only the way that the investigation has been handled, but also the reporting of it. I will link the video so you guys can go ahead and get caught up on all of that. But a main theme in the video was I'm just frustrated with it. I'm frustrated with the amount of just insane 24/7 reporting, the sensationalist aspects of it all, how there's video after video after video, story after story after story online, all these clickbait titles for these videos and these articles, but yet there's nothing really coming out of it. Hey, you guys, I'm editing the video. And of course, as I'm editing, the FBI and the Pima County Sheriff's Department just released surveillance videos and photos of a potential subject in the case, and the footage was apparently captured on February 1st at 1:45 a.m. outside of Nancy Guthrie's home, and the FBI is now offering a $50,000 reward. This footage is apparently something that was recovered from what they're calling residual data from back-end systems, I guess associated with I don't know if it's a ring cam or a nest cam or whatever, this imagery from private sector partners. They're saying this individual is masked, wearing a backpack, long sleeves, pants, and gloves. And apparently they're surmising, all the different news agencies that's talking about this now, is that they're saying that it's very possible now for law enforcement can take this information from, these pictures from the video and the images and create a composite photo, which could be a high fidelity image of the suspect's face using AI and using different technology. So let's hope that we do get some type of significant break soon in this case. And hopefully this video and these images will help law enforcement uncover something, because this has just been dragging on way too long. But that's just a quick update. Let's get back to the video. And I feel like some type of, like I'm being taken for a useful idiot, I guess, that we're kind of being force-fed this thing to kind of keep us just really focused on it, where I feel like there's so much more going on that is worthy of our attention. And again, not saying that the kidnapping and possible death of an 84-year-old woman is not a tragedy and not something worth attention, but I think you guys know what I'm talking about. So I go all into that in yesterday's video, but as I'm just trying to rest, reading, watching certain things, there are some things that are catching my eye that I wanted to talk to you guys about. So I had said in yesterday's video that I didn't really want to talk about the Nancy Guthrie case at all until there was some breakthroughs, until there was an arrest, or until there was something newsworthy worth talking about. And I'm still standing by that. It's still the same old shtick that's been going on since I did my video yesterday. Just update upon update, but nothing really coming out of it. Savannah herself apparently did make another video, but it's still the same. So yeah. But it seems like there's a two-tiered approach to the reporting on this entire scenario, because I remember when I was first cluing into this story about a week and a half ago when people first started talking about it. And I remember Megyn Kelly was talking to Ashley Banfield on Megyn's podcast, and they were both talking about this little theory that was being floated around. And the theory was, is the kidnapping of Nancy Guthrie, Savannah's mother, does that have something to do with the fact that Savannah was essentially the first news journalist who gave an Epstein victim a platform? And there were a few that she did, and among them, most famously, was Virginia Giuffre. There was a 2019 Dateline NBC special that Savannah was in where she was interviewing victims, and that was kind of being floated around. And they didn't really say, meaning Megyn or Ashley, they didn't really say whether or not they thought that was true or not. They were just throwing that out there like, hey, is there some type of connection? Because Savannah did choose to platform and give a voice to these victims.
Young women to abuse everywhere.
This was a very prolific sexual predator.
How is it possible the system could have failed on so many levels?
There is no explanation.
And I remember thinking, interesting, file that one back in my Gen X Rolodex, right? So there's that. And then I'm watching the PBD podcast, and there's some very interesting ideas being floated around about this. And it's all on the same vein that, is there some type of connection? Everybody in the world is talking about these Epstein files again, because as we all know, they were dropped on the 30th. And it's interesting that they were dropped on January 30th, and then Nancy Guthrie was taken from her home on the 31st. I don't know if there's a connection there. Have no idea. But it's got to the point where there's so much going on, and there's so many disgusting, evil, horrible, rotten, satanic people here in the world, all these elites with all their power and all their influence and all the horrible, nasty things that have been going on. I mean, at this point, you got to ask yourself, maybe there is a connection. But I wanted to play you guys a little clip here, and I thought it was very interesting. In the clip, they're talking about the exact same thing I talked to you guys about in yesterday's video, about the Silence of the Lambs connection. When Savannah said in her video, my mother is kind, she's knowledgeable, she's funny, talk to her and you'll see. And then how that line is directly from the movie Silence of the Lambs. So just watch this and tell me what you guys think.
She is full of kindness.
Catherine is very gentle and kind.
Talk to her and you'll see.
Talk to her and you'll see.
What? Wait. I mean, this is a little weird.
And it went on. There's actually a longer clip of it. And so my point is, think about this. What are the odds, Adam? What are the odds that Savannah Guthrie, she's in the Epstein files where it looks like Jeffrey Epstein is talking to somebody powerful, saying she's going to go here, she's going to talk about this, she's going to talk about that. Then her husband worked for Clinton for 8 years, okay, leaves, goes to another company, partners up with a company that helps Democrats with their image and all that stuff. And then now the Clintons are testifying about the Epstein stuff this month. How do you not see a connection of somehow, somewhere, and then she's over here yelling at Trump? What, you're talking about there's demons and whatever is a pedophile satanic group? Yeah, there is. There is. What other type of human being sleeps with underage girls, allegedly buries them or puts them in sulfuric acid, kills them, they have trap doors and they throw them to the freaking sharks? It's like, when are we going to stop pretending that evil is real? That evil is real and it's happening in front of our faces. I think that once we stop playing that game, then nothing is off the table. Because you can't not see the connection. She was the biggest, she put the victim of Prince Andrew, a prince, and put her on the freak and sat there. You don't think NBC was like, oh my God, we're gonna get litigation. But she's like, we have to do it. You don't think this is a retribution? You don't think these people pay you back? She's lucky she's not hanging from a tree in her house with a shotgun shot to her chest and there's no shotgun found, like Mark Middleton. She's lucky. She's lucky, and I pray that they find her mom. But this is all connected, bro.
You know what? At this point, I don't really think anybody is ruling anything out. Not at all. I mean, how many times have I said to my mom or my husband, just in the past 5 years since COVID, since things went down with the way that our country significantly changed after COVID. And I say my country, but it's not just the US. It's pretty much all over the West, how everything has changed. And I don't really feel like I'm living in the country that I grew up in. I don't feel that the US is the same place. So many of us feel like that. We feel like we're living in some type of weird dystopian place where there is a conspiracy theory around every single stinking corner. And how can we not feel like that? How can we not feel like that when we're getting almost a daily barrage of news stories coming out about these disgraceful and disgusting elites and the way that they have conducted themselves and their affairs. And yeah, affairs, right? But these are people at the helm of very important and significant companies, governments, things that surround and govern our daily lives, from the phones we have in our hands to laws that affect us when we're driving down the street. Like, all of these people in these high positions of power and influence, and we're seeing the disgusting behavior, and people just want to know, how deep is the rot? I mean, it's so disgusting. And then we have Ghislaine Maxwell yesterday, who's invoking the Fifth Amendment in a closed-door House oversight deposition, saying that she invokes her Fifth Amendment right to silence. Just watch this.
Respectfully decline to answer this question. I would like to answer your question, but on the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer this question and any related questions.
Ghislaine Maxwell, the former girlfriend of Jeffrey Epstein, declined to answer questions from House lawmakers on Monday. Maxwell appeared before the House Oversight Committee in a video call from a federal prison in Texas. She is serving a 20-year sentence there for sex trafficking and invoked her Fifth Amendment rights to avoid answering questions that would be self-incriminating. Maxwell is under scrutiny as Congress members investigate how Epstein, a well-connected financier, was able to sexually abuse underage girls for years. Her attorney also told lawmakers that if President Donald Trump ended her prison sentence, she would be willing to testify that neither Trump nor former President Bill Clinton were culpable for wrongdoing in their relationships with Epstein.
Okay, I don't know about you, but I watch videos like this when you have these notorious offenders. I'm tired of watching these people try to present themselves as meek or despondent, and it's almost like they're trying to take a powerless stance now, when you know that when they were at the height of all their disgusting behavior, everything that they were doing, that they were in positions of influence and power, and they were not going around acting meek or despondent. I can tell you that right now. And Virginia Giuffre's family released a statement after this saying that this is garbage, basically, that you are at the helm of all of this. And you've got the head of this committee, Comer, who's saying that, this is ridiculous. And how disgusting to say that she'll talk and she'll clear, apparently, Trump and Clinton, Bill Clinton, via her testimony from any wrongdoing, but she's asking for clemency, and she'll do that in exchange for that clemency. And understandably, this head of the House Oversight and Accountability Committee, this Representative James Comer, he's pretty pissed off today, and I would be too. I'm going to read you a quote where he said, initially she, meaning Ghislaine, had asked that the Oversight Committee grant immunity. And when we met with the survivors of Epstein, it was pretty clear, according to the survivors, and they had about 20-some members in that meeting, that she was a very bad person, meaning Maxwell, and that she committed a lot of crimes. And it was the intent, in my opinion, that when we left that meeting in a bipartisan manner, that we would not grant immunity. So Comer goes on and he says, now, what she said today, she's asked for clemency from the president. So I personally, for the reasons you just stated, don't think she should be granted any type of immunity or clemency, end quote. And you know what? I agree. And he's also saying that she's not seeking to bring about any type of closure for anybody. She's just out for herself, just like how they've been out for themselves this entire stinking time. That's all these people are, is out for themselves. It's so unbelievably disgusting. And I didn't plan on making a video today. I was just wanting to rest. And I'm watching the news and different things with my mom over coffee this morning, looking and listening to all this stuff. And I just knew there was no way that I couldn't. But You know, I was watching the movie True Grit last night, the 2010 version, the Coen brothers version. I love that movie. I absolutely love it. But there's a very famous line. Apparently it's in the original 1968 book, but it's featured prominently in the 2010 version of the movie True Grit. Not the one with John Wayne, 1969, but it's in the 2010 version. And the line from the movie is quoted from Maddie Ross, one of the main characters. And Maddie's quote is, "You must pay for everything in this world, one way or another. There is nothing free except the grace of God." And I was thinking to myself, yep, we're going to need a lot of grace in the coming days, the coming months, the coming years, where all of this is concerned. And I really feel like 2026 is going to be a year of reckoning, a reckoning. It's going to be the beginning of people really, really getting angry, upset, eyes opened, people asking questions, and basically waking up from this slumber that we've been under, this delusion, because so many of us have just, whether it's been a half-hearted way of living where, you know, we just feel like we're cogs in this system and we really have no way to have a real say or have any real system for change. It's just, you know, there are these people in charge, these elites, these rich, these powerfuls. They're the ones that make the decisions. I guess we have to trust them and take their words on things. It's like, no. Those people, more than anybody else, are going to need God's grace, because I really feel like there is a reckoning coming this year. And this is just all the tip of the iceberg. I really do feel like this Epstein stuff is just a tip of the iceberg. So we've got all that stuff with Ghislaine taking the fifth, and all these people now talking about Epstein and Savannah Guthrie kidnapping connections. So that's weird enough. And then, of course, I wake up this morning to news that King Charles has released a statement. So he finally has come out and released a statement. But this is something that I talked about in my video just a few weeks ago, saying that it needed to happen before now. And he needed to have said these things way back in his October statement when he took away all of Andrew's styles and his titles and his military honors and everything. This should have been done a long time ago, unfortunately. And a lot of people are saying it's too little too late. So Charles's actual statement that he released yesterday on the 9th, February 9th, has said, "The king has made clear in words and through unprecedented actions his profound concern at allegations which continue to come to light in respect of Mr. Mountbatten Windsor's conduct. While the specific claims in question are for Mr. Mountbatten Windsor to address, if we are approached by Thames Valley Police, we stand ready to support them as you would expect. As was previously stated, Their Majesty's thoughts and sympathies have been and remain with the victims of any and all forms of abuse." End quote. So you can see that he is trying to further distance himself from Andrew, in my opinion. And not only that, but trying to show that he's already done a lot. And that's where that line in the statement about the unprecedented actions comes from. It's as if to remind us he has gone above and beyond and done things that are unprecedented in removing all of the styles and the titles and the honors. What more could he do? But like I was saying in my video, you know, he should have said way back in October, and we will be cooperating with law enforcement if we are asked questions, meaning the palace. But he also should have said then and now that Andrew himself should cooperate with law enforcement. I don't really like the line where it said in this current statement, the February 9th one, I don't like where it said while the specific claims in question are for Mr. Mountbatten Windsor to address. No. What he should have said was, we are actively encouraging Mr. Mountbatten Windsor to cooperate with law enforcement on both sides of the Atlantic. But of course they won't do that. We all know why they won't do that. And I've talked about this in other videos, and so have other people. He doesn't want to cooperate because he knows that, for example, if he cooperates with any type of oversight committee or before Congress on U.S. soil, or even if he takes a deposition in a private law office with attorneys present in front of federal agents or anything like that, or attorneys, he knows that if he perjures himself in any way, shape, or form in any type of statement, that he is going to be in big, big trouble. And, Andrew Lowney has been very, very vocal in making these journal circuit this past week, talking about how should his ass be in a jail cell right now? Absolutely. In the UK, for sure. Will it be? Not bloody likely, okay? In the words of Prince Anne, not bloody likely. That he would be on a plane to Dubai quicker than you can say Epstein, okay? So we all know that that's going on. And when Charles is talking about the Thames Valley Police, what he's referencing is a new claim that came out in the Epstein files with this latest files dump this past January, which was specifically talking about an accuser in some of the files saying that she had been trafficked to Andrew and had been at Windsor for, related activity. So apparently the Met Police, in some statements that they released earlier, about a week and a half or so ago, are saying that they are actively looking into it, seeing if they want to move forward. But I don't really have too many high hopes for the fact that Andrew is going to be sitting in a jail cell anytime soon. I think that a woman like Ghislaine is going to sit in a jail cell over, say, someone like an Andrew. But even then, she's being treated with kid gloves. It's all disgusting. But moreover, the king himself, there's a whole new microscope being now shifting over to him, because the man is being heckled more and more now when he goes out in public. And not only that, but there are some really, really disgusting associations that King Charles has had in his past, in his own behavior, that I think more and more people are going to start talking about. And when that happens, you know that the monarchy is not going to be in for a good time, because Charles has had, and we've known about this for years, associations with both the pedophile Jimmy Savile, and also he has associations with Lord Mountbatten, who was his great uncle. And many say he was the most influential figure in Prince Charles's early life and his adult life. Charles himself described Lord Louis Mountbatten as an honorary grandfather and a second father. And this was the guy who was famously advising Charles to sow his wild oats and to be discreet in his affairs. And he was lending out some of his residences and properties so that Charles could carry on affairs with Camilla when she was married to her first husband, Bowles. And this guy, this Mountbatten, he died in 1979. And there's all these allegations coming out about him after his death, allegations of abuse. There's a book that came out just very recently, this past summer, July 2025, by a BBC journalist by the name of Chris Moore, and it's called Kincora, Britain's Shame. And it's talking about this boys' school in Belfast, this boys' school that closed in October 1980 following exposure of sexual abuse of the boys there. And according to this book, 5 people claimed that they were sexually abused and raped by Lord Mountbatten, this same man who was great uncle to King Charles. And this author, Chris Moore, spoke to 3 of these victims, and they all alleged that they were taken to this castle of Mountbatten's in the summer of 1977 and were abused by him. And 2 of those boys were living at this boys' school at the time. I mean, can you believe this? Can we honestly look at all of these people and all their associations and not smell the rot and not see this disgusting depravity unfolding right before our eyes? So of course we're pissed off when we hear statements like this, because they seem mealy-mouthed and they seem like they're just doing damage control, trying to preserve the reputation of the monarchy. It seems like that's what they're more concerned about, preserving the reputation of the monarchy and not so much really addressing what's going on. I mean, why hasn't Charles released any type of statement saying, these allegations have been out there and I have had these questionable associations, but let me assure you that I am above board or just something. But they don't want to really address it. They want to do the bare minimum in order to save face. And I really have to say that even the statement put out by William and Catherine, to me, it's just a little too late. Too little too late. And when I say it's too little too late, I just mean that, you know, William seems to be a man who's got very strong convictions, and I don't understand why even back in October, he and Catherine didn't issue a statement, something along these lines back then to distance themselves, because unfortunately this is a huge mess that they have to mop up, and it's really sad. And it's not really that big of a deal statement. It's just something that a Kensington Palace spokesperson said, that they're focused on the victims. The actual statement just said, quote, "I can confirm that the prince and princess have been deeply concerned by the continuing revelations and their thoughts remain focused on the victims." And that was pretty much it. But I can't help but think that the only reason why this is coming out now is because the optics are bad, because William has a visit to Saudi Arabia right now, and he's meeting with someone who also knew Epstein as well. William is meeting with the Saudi Arabian Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, and this guy's also been photographed with Epstein. And Epstein apparently had this photo in his Manhattan mansion, among all his other portraits, with him with all these other influential global leaders and politicians and things. It seemed like this man had his tentacles in everything. He collected these names and these associations with these famous and influential people, like he collected socks and underwear, it seems like. And it really seemed like he got off on it. And I know a lot of people think that obviously he had tapes and cameras all over his island and his mansion and his different, houses that he had all over, and he would have these parties and these men come, and these girls, and these men would entertain these girls, and everything was taped, everything was recorded. I think that's how he got rich. I think I know that's how he got rich. Everyone thinks that, it's he's blackmailing these famous people with all this dirt he's got on them. And it was like this sick little tawdry game that him and Ghislaine were playing. Just beyond disgusting. And it seems like everyone has got their little hands dirty here. And unfortunately, I think that Charles is not in for a very smooth reign. I think at this point, in my humble opinion, it would be better for him to abdicate. It would be better for him to just step down and give the throne to his son. He won't do that because he's got too big of an ego. He might be a little bit more soft-spoken than, say, a brash Harry and an Andrew, and not as strong in his conviction as, say, a William. But he still has an ego, and he still waited a hell of a long time to ascend. A really, really long time. And that deep down, what these elites think and feel is that they were born to these roles, they deserve these roles, and how dare anyone question them in these roles. I mean, that's what it all comes down to. So I look at William and Catherine and I think, wow, they've got a lot of crap to deal with, and it really sucks to be them. They seem to be focused very, very strongly on their family. I adore Catherine as a cancer survivor myself. I think she's a beautiful, wonderful person. And I do feel sorry for them to having to deal with this, but then there's a really strong pull inside of me that I've been feeling lately. And I know a lot of people feel the exact same way. Is this monarchy going to survive? And even if it doesn't, would that be so much of a bad thing? I mean, the most important thing in the world is God. First God, then family, and then your community. And William and Catherine, if they really are the strong, loving couple and strong mother and father that they have shown us to be in their words and in their actions, even if the monarchy were to end, I think they would be okay. I really do think they would. The only thing that has made me pause a little bit is that I know through reports that I've read and things about William, he's not as strong seemingly in his Christian faith as, say, even his grandmother was. And I know he has a little bit of discomfort with the role of Church of England, head of the church. Whereas I know there have been reports that Catherine has deepened her faith since her cancer struggles, but that doesn't really sit with me well either, that he's not as strong in his faith as he should be, because that nation really, really does need a strong Christian figurehead right now, because they don't have one. They haven't had one in a very long time. In my humble opinion, born and raised Roman Catholic here, very strong Roman Catholic. Personally, I look at the Church of England, in my humble opinion, it was a church founded by a sexual deviant. I mean, let's face it, King Henry VIII founded that church because he wanted a divorce and the Pope wouldn't grant him one. So that's why we have Church of England, okay? Not to say that the church isn't without her problems over the years. There's been a lot of bad popes, don't get me wrong, okay? There's been a lot of bad popes throughout the millennia that have fathered children, for goodness sake. There's always been corrupt and rot everywhere, in high institutions, in governing bodies, churches, everything, of course. But my personal opinion is the devil knows where the one true faith lies, and that's why my church, the Catholic Church, has been attacked so grievously over the hundreds and hundreds of years. And there is rot in the church, just like there's rot in the British monarchy, just like there's rot in all of these governments all over the world. It's terrible. It's terrible. That's why so many of us are angry and disillusioned. Oh, I'm getting fired up here. Don't want to get too fired up, but thank you guys for listening today. And what do you think of that line from True Grit? Do you find it as poignant as I do right now? I mean, I was watching it thinking, holy crap, this can't come at a better time. This sentiment cannot come at a better time. And I don't want to just throw this video out here and get you guys fired up either and make you guys feel sad and hopeless about the state of our world. I just want to remind you, just like I'm reminding myself, that God is in control. God is in control. He has our backs. If we are faithful and true to his word and we live out the gospel and we do our best to live righteous lives and be kind and compassionate to others and to love each other and to hold fast to his truths, we are going to be okay. We are going to be okay. Remember what he told us in the gospel. The world is going to have all this trial and all this tribulation, but take heart. He has overcome the world. There is nothing that these evil, diabolical people can do here on this earth that would have any power in the next life. Absolutely none. And vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. These people, one way or another, will face justice. They will. We have to know that. We have to know that. So in the meantime, I am praying for all of the victims. I'm praying for everyone involved. I'm even praying for the sick, disgusting souls of all these evil people, that they will see the error of their ways and they will turn around and they will speak up and they will do the right thing. We don't know what they're going to do. So in the meantime, let's just remember who's in charge, who's in control. Let's pay attention to all of our friends and all of our families and everyone in our immediate orbit that we can just focus on and just be kind to one another and help each other get to heaven. There's so much out here going on right now that's being talked about every single day that we can't control. But what we can control is all of our personal relationships. We can control how we conduct ourselves in our jobs, in our lives, all of that. Let's just concentrate on how we can make our own families and our own immediate communities better. Let's just pray for each other. Let's just pray, even if it's hard, but we got to pray for all of these evil, rotten people in the world, because they're the ones out there causing all this chaos and all this division and all this strife. And pray for the conversion of souls. Pray that God's grace will shine down upon all these evil people, us too, but even on these evil people that are doing all these evil things, because only the Holy Spirit can convert even the most wretched, corrupted souls. And I know that's not really a popular thing to say, praying for all these horrible people, but you have to. We have no other recourse. This is what our Savior commanded us to do. So let's just continue to pray. I'll pray for everyone. I hope you guys can pray for me. Let's just keep praying for all of these fools that I'm talking about in all of these videos. I mean, there's nothing else we can do. Let's just pray and continue to ask for the grace of God. So thank you guys so much for listening and joining me today. I'm going to continue to try to rest a little bit. I think I've been talking a little bit too much and I'm feeling a little bit winded. I love you guys so much and I will talk to you very, very soon. Thanks for all the kind thoughts and I'll talk to you later. Bye.
You must pay for everything in this world one way and another. There is nothing free except the grace of God.